What's up? What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, and welcome into another edition, the Wednesday edition, September 2nd edition of MVP Sports Live. I'm joined, as I always am, with my beautiful co-host, Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
Dave, I ask every day, how you doing today? How you doing? How's your
Doing
Wednesday
okay.
going?
Doing okay. Watching, a review of a pillow right now.
Is it the My Pillow or the latex pillow?
It is the My Pillow review.
Okay.
Yeah, from the Lumberyard.
Because
50K subs. Go Lumberyard.
Because for people on YouTube or people coming into Twitch now, the big debate with you, Dave, was you said you need a new pillow. You feel like you're ruining your pillow.
Well, no, my neck is ruining.
Okay.
Like it's my neck that's jacked up because my pillows are old and they're like completely flattened at this point. A side sleeper. So I literally just Googled like best pillow for side sleeper, and it was like a link to like a latex pillow, and I'm like, it seems stupidly expensive. I wonder if there's any other option. You're like, go with a My Pillow, and like the way you sold me on it is like, I feel like this is not a trustworthy thing.
I'm telling you, I got two when I ordered them. They give you two for the price of one.
I bet.
If I had the other pillow, because I don't know where the fuck it went. My mom was like, well, what do you want? Like, you have two of them. I was like, fuck it. I only need one of them. She's like, but you can alternate. I'm like, I only need one fucking pillow. So I only use the one. Best pillow I ever bought. But like, there are times I will say where like, my problem is if I move in my sleep too much one night, the pillow is no longer under me. Like, I throw my pillow across the room, or I fucking throw it like at my feet to where the pillow is no longer by my head. But that's not a My Pillow thing. That's that's a Ricky sleep problem.
I mean, if My Pillow wants to sponsor us, I'm putting it out there for them. I'm looking, I'm shopping. But otherwise, I might buy elsewhere. I'm gonna watch some reviews though for sure.
We actually got an email once about a sock brand that wanted to sponsor with us
as often as possible.
The gimmick, and I say gimmick, I should say their thing that they were selling on it is these are socks that don't like retain odor. So like they were like, if you're going on a business trip or you need socks to where you don't have to wash them every day, these are your socks. And I was like, great, the lazy man socks. Can wear them for a week straight without washing them.
I could not do that. Even,
they're like, they could be in the sweatiest of conditions, but you don't have to wash them. Dave's like, I don't wear. See, that's my problem. I don't wear socks unless it's like winter.
Yep.
Like, I try to all summer, have not worn a single sock.
I mean, this year especially. Like, what are you gonna do?
I have not worn a single sock because I just wear sandals. But let's get some housekeeping in, Dave, before we start the show off proper. Make sure to get in on the Discord, link down below on YouTube and Twitch, just !Discord. Get you the invite link for the Discord. Make sure also to check out patreon.com/MVPvids. That is how you help support us. And thank you to our patron sponsors, Pat Hill and Philly Sean. Also, we do record this on Twitch, twitch.tv/MVPvids. But if you ever miss a show, you can always catch it on YouTube at MVP Sports. So catch it live. If you can't, it's always on YouTube. And yeah, that's pretty much housekeeping for today, Dave. And we're going to start the show off, Dave, with some NBA playoffs. I know Dave's excited about this. Dave loves the NBA playoffs right now. And I will say, last night, Dave, we saw and we witnessed, before we get into the Jazz, because that's who we're mainly going to focus on, because I feel like we've talked about the Nuggets enough, and we know they have a tough road ahead of them in the Clippers, but I think last night was the best playoff game of this year's playoffs. Am I wrong?
It had a lot of things going for it. I would not say it's the best. I mean, like, entertainment-wise. I don't mean, like, spot grade A basketball. No, we've had better games this playoff than that game. That game was, like, I mean, come on, you're going to pick a game where the teams, like, collectively shot, like, 35% from the field and, like, 20% from three, like.
But it had it had drama, Dave. It had drama through and through.
It had the heavy stakes there. But that last, like, chain of possessions, I just want to bounce
the layup.
Like, all of a sudden, Utah brings the ball up the court, loses it, And you think the Nuggets, all they have to do is cross half court. It's over.
I was like, game's over.
Force them to foul you. And then you go to the line, game's locked. And nope, go up for the layup, bounce, rebound to Utah. Utah pushes up the court. Mike Conley, last second running three. Out. Into the back and then rocks out.
So,
and it was,
two things about that final shot. Number one, you know what I'm going to say, Dave.
What's that?
Hashtag Rimgate. Hashtag Rimgate. These rims are way too hard in the bubble. They're just way too hard. Also, the second best thing was, as it's in the air, Donovan Mitchell, you see him like, it's good. And it rims out and he goes,
yep.
Oh, like,
and he just drops.
Instant defeat on his face. But the thing I want to focus on from this game, Dave, is the Utah Jazz, because Bleacher Report had a tweet today. Their source was Chris B. Haynes, saying that Donovan Mitchell will finalize a max contract extension with the Jazz when free agency opens. And one of the things that we heard Donovan Mitchell talk about after the game is how this is not the end for the Jazz. We've got a good core here. Basically everything you want to hear. But it sounded like this Jazz team thinks we could be built for something special. So the question and kind of the topic I want to talk about at the top of the show is, should the Jazz be optimistic for the future? Because as you pointed out in the pre-show before we went live, there are some people that are like, no, I wouldn't be too optimistic about this core.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, the upside of what we have seen in the last week of play out of them is that they were able to compete with one of the top teams in the West and hold their own. They had a 3-1 lead in the series. Donovan Mitchell played arguably the best playoff series, I think, of almost anyone in the history of the Basketball Association. And that was all done without, like, the second or third best player in Bojan Bogdanovic. So credit to them. They put up a hell of a fight, and I think that with Bojan there, like, they win that series, no doubt. But when you look forward at the contracts and the situation they're stuck in, like, yeah, Conley's going to take that offer next year for his 34. Is that a player op or is that a team op?
It's a player op, 34.
Player op for 34, yeah. I think that's likely that he's going to take that $34 million. So you're locked in with Conley, Mitchell. Don apparently is going to end up getting, max extension the following year. We're expecting. But Bojan, Joe Ingles, and then Rudy Gobert, like, your core is still together. The only guys coming off contract is like Juwan Morgan, Rajon Tucker, Moutier, and Clarkson. So it's not a bad thing. We talked about how they had one of the best starting fives in the NBA going into the season. When healthy, they've got great wing defense. They've got great ball movement. They've got multiple facilitators. They've got everything you want.
Yeah.
As far as the team goes, it's just you need Donovan Mitchell to play like an MVP in order to compete for a championship. And that's kind of the question is like, I heard another YouTuber talk about this today. It's a good video, but he kind of brought up the point of like, they're not going to be a championship contender team unless they get MVP Donovan Mitchell. And that's the question. How much better can he get this series? I think his shooting splits were otherworldly. And, do they have enough firepower? Do they have the money in the right location? With Rudy Gobert as a defensive stopper, someone who, I don't know if he were on the open market today, would he get $27 million from another team? I don't know that he'd get $20 million from another team. And that we're talking about a defensive player of the year, but it's just you have to know the value of the position and the value of the position to the team. And that's the big question that this roster kind of is locked into for the next 2 years at least. So they're going to have to answer some questions.
Well, Soapy brings up a good thing in Twitch chat, and I say he brings up a good idea because it's an idea I was thinking of so Rudy Gobert, he is somebody that next year will be his contract year before he's an unrestricted free agent. And I was almost thinking in my head, not the for sure, like Soapy says, honestly, I think they need to move Gobert. In my mind, it's the Jazz need to figure out next year, is Gobert in the future plans for them? Because the thing that I'm thinking of is they can either do one of two things. They can either wait till next year, see how things go, and then kind of make a decision during the season. Hey, do we trade him at the deadline? Do we just basically, if the decision's after the deadline, do we let him walk at the end of the year? I feel like Rudy Gobert is somebody they could get they could get a price that they want from it. And this is going to sound crazy, Dave. I'm not saying this is going to happen. But if I was the Jazz, and if you're sitting there right now, I know it's the day after you lost Game 7, so you're not going to make an irrational decision, but if you're not sold on Rudy Gobert, if you're like, okay, we've got Donovan Mitchell, we've got Mike Conley, and then we've got Jumpin' Joe and Bojan, the thing that I think of, and this would be a risky move, but it would be something that I'd be like, could it happen?
Yep.
Is could the Jazz call up the T-Wolves and basically say, you need a rim protector, we got a defensive player of the year. Let's work something out for the number 1 pick. I mean, because with the T-Wolves, I'm sitting there and like, do I make that move on the Jazz? Probably not, because whoever you're taking up there, LaMelo Ball, clashes with Conley and Don Mitch, but it's all dependent on, are you going to re-sign Conley after next year? Anthony Edwards, I think, would be kind of like you just throw him into the rotation of Bojan and Jumpin' Joe. Wiseman would basically be them just saying, hey, like, I wouldn't make that pick. I'd keep Rudy Gobert over James Wiseman. But it's like, it's a thought I had, because it's like, could the Jazz basically say, hey, because this core, I think, does not win a championship. I think you have the pieces together, but like, I feel like Rudy Gobert is that weak link per se, because usually all these teams that are vying for championships.
Player of the year. And
what?
I know it's funny because he's a perennial defensive player of the year candidate.
Yeah, but it comes down to name me a team besides the Nuggets that has their best, either one of their top 2 players be a center. I mean, and a defensive center on top of that.
Sixers are one of them.
Are the Sixers winning a championship anytime soon?
Well, they shot themselves in the foot pretty fucking hard last offseason. So
they doubled down on the bigs with Toby instead of Jimmy and Al Horford.
The answer's not right now to that question. But no, it's funny to say out loud, because I don't think you're wrong. Mm-hmm. I honestly don't. It's dumb to say like, oh yeah, the guy who's defensive player of the year could be any given year for the next couple of years. His contract's up next year. That's the only reason why like the number 1 overall pick value doesn't make sense to me. It's just contract length. Like he's up for a new deal after next season. Next season he's going to get about $27 million. Yeah. So I can't see them having the same value for a 5-year, or actually however many years, a rookie deal, 4-year plus the RFA plus however long you want to go. So up to like 7 years, 8 years easily, Yeah. I don't think it could do it.
The only reason I bring that up is also with I think on the T-Wolves side of, you have Cat, you have D'Lo. If that trade was presented, would the T-Wolves look at it and go, Rudy Gobert gives us a lot better of a chance to compete right now than any of these rookies coming in? Like, there wouldn't be a developmental curve with Rudy Gobert because he is what he is.
Yeah, I get that, but
that's just the only reason I brought it up. But
maybe if they did like a sign and trade and got him for like, instead of $27 million, he took he rewrote his deal a la Harrison Barnes and went down to like $20 million a year. But then they're still fucked because they have D'Lo on a max, they have Cat on a max, they're gonna have to pay for that kid they got from Denver halfway through the season, or 3/4 way through the season, the shooting guard. I forget his name right now. Who was putting like 20 a night up. So like, they just don't have the money. Like, that's the problem with the T-Wolves. It's not a bad idea, because it would be a great pairing to give someone who can guard or close off the paint. But like, it's not going to be the right fit for them.
Let me throw out this one, because maybe this one makes a little bit more sense. Rudy Gobert to Golden State for Wiggins, Looney, and the number 2. Is Gobert enough of a star to move the pick from Washington for Gobert? And would Andrew Wiggins would he even fit with this Jazz team and give them a better chance to win?
It's funny because like when you rank the value of the items in the trade.
Mm-hmm.
I think the number 2 pick is the most valuable.
Yep.
And then I almost wonder, to me, it's almost a toss up between Wiggins and Gobert.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I know they're both like Wiggins, bad contract, yada, yada, yada. I still think he's a very good player.
Yeah.
Gobert, very good player, just $27 million for a 1-year contract, unless it's reworked and extended.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like the Warriors can re-sign him. They're out of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, it's with the assumption that, hey, maybe it's Gobert plus something that, maybe more attractive. Maybe if they tossed in like a Joe Ingles or something, they could rip away. And I know the Jazz would murder me if I suggested trading Joe Ingles. He's the heart and soul of that team, and I love jumping Joe Ingles.
You were the one that brought the jumping Joe Love to MVP, Dave.
Yeah, I know, and I'm right for it. But like, I just don't think I could do it. I think that both pieces on the Warriors end are more valuable than Gobert and alternate with a rework contract on top of that. It's just asking a lot. I think the only way you move Gobert is in like I don't know if you can. I'll be honest. I don't think any team values him as much as the Jazz do. I think the Jazz need a stud at point guard, and that's the answer. Is you need to move on from Mike Conley. Obviously, I think Donovan Mitchell is your star. I think Bojan's a perfect complementary piece. I think Ingles, great complementary piece. They need a star at point guard, and they might need a star at the 4. If they could get up. Oh no, hang on. I'm gonna do the thing I hate doing.
What?
We can take Khan up real quick.
Okay, because like while you're doing that, the one reason why, because Soapy says I don't think they trade for a top pick. That's the reason why I feel like what you said, why they should maybe think about that if moving Gobert is in the plans, because if LaMelo Ball's not number 1 and the Warriors want a star, the Warriors basically have not had a center that was worth his weight, I'll say, since Andrew Bogut before he got injured, was the Warriors would be, I think, interested to listen to that offer. And like, I pulled up a Clutch Points article where they said, if there's anyone that can get anything out of Andrew Wiggins, it's Quinn Snyder, right? Like, that man just seems to get things out of players that sometimes we don't expect.
If Andrew Wiggins was missing, check Quinn Snyder's trunk is what I'm saying. That's my first.
But like, and with LaMelo Ball being there, like you're moving on from like, then it would be like, hey, we can just let Conley walk after next year. And then, boom, LaMelo Ball and Don Mitch are our future backcourt moving forward.
Right. My concern is timeline. Are they forcing a timeline, like an artificial timeline here, because they do think that, hey, with Gobert in his prime, with Joe Ingles in his prime, with Bojan in his prime, and Don Mitchell ahead of his prime, perhaps, like, do they feel obligated to go for that timeline and push in for the win now, or do you think that they can wait it out? Because I think if you're on the side of we can wait this out, reload in like 2 years when Gobert's off contract, when these other guys are off contract, then maybe LaMelo Ball would be a reasonable target to go after. But I don't think LaMelo Ball helps you win a championship or compete for a championship for the next 2 years.
Because there are things he needs to improve on.
Exactly. Ooh, man. I was trying to find a way to get like Obi Toppin on this team. Because honestly, I think he would be a great fit. I think Obi Toppin would be massive for them. And I looked at the Knicks first, and Knicks contract-wise don't have, like, the only person you can move is Julius Randle, who technically is like, the shades of similar what they could do for you. He's a scoring power forward. I think Obi Toppin has way more upside and obviously a way smaller contract. So I wouldn't pull that trigger. But somewhere in that, like, 6 to 10 range where Obi Toppin could go, like, I would love to see them go up and get Obi Toppin. I think the point guard situation, if you can't find someone you love, then you know what? You're going to be free in a year anyway from Mike Conley. So,
and I'm trying to like right now you got an idea that's in my head, but before I continue with my idea, I wanted to ask, like, kind of bringing it away from Gobert and more back on like the optimistic, because like one of the other trades that I saw was like the Celtics, but like Celtics aren't going to move anybody. They're not going to make a trade.
I know, right? Like the Celtics have all the picks in the world. They could
every article under the sun. Oh, the Celtics make sense here. Danny Ainge ain't going to move anything. Gollum loves his picks too much. But like to go back to the original question, should the Jazz or should Jazz fans, Jazz Nation, should they feel optimistic about the future, or was this just a hey, we had the right opponent in round one? With if we had Bojan out there, we probably, because I answered the question on Twitter. I think it was Bulls Machine or something on Twitter said if Bojan was healthy, what's the outcome? And I said Jazz in 6 or 7. I didn't think it would be 4 or 5. I said Jazz in 6 or 7 because he would add more offense to this team to where it wouldn't be all on Don Mitch, but like
3-1 without him. Mm-hmm. I mean,
he could have swung at one game
easily. I love our Discord because Retro Sam going back and forth with potential trade locations, and I love the idea of the Gordon Hayward for Gobert swap back. Like, come on, that would be great. Like, okay, let's bring Gordon Hayward to Utah and like have fun with this, because I think that's a win-win. Mm-hmm. Utah gets somebody who is a versatile wing, who can be that guy who puts them over the top, at least in the playoffs during the first couple rounds. And, he's accepting that cash. So there's no question there. They're both on one-year deals. Makes both teams better, I think. It'd be interesting to see.
Well, and I'll ask you, should the Jazz be optimistic?
Yeah. Here's the thing. The answer is yes. It's just, I wonder what timeline you're going on. Don't be the 76ers. Don't say, I've got 2 young stars who are competing for a championship and I need to go all in right now, because you're going to be forced to make some moves that may not agree with you. And I think that's one of the things that they're seeing from the Mike Conley deal. They knew they needed a point guard to compete at the highest level. They had to overpay for Conley, eat that massive contract. I don't want to see them make similar mistakes down the road if they feel they're forcing moves to happen. So they should feel good. They've got one of the best young talents in the NBA, and they've got some excellent wing depth. They've got Defensive Player of the Year, perennial candidate at center. Like, they've got the right shit to make it work. It's just they need another star on that team to compete for a championship. I think realistically right now they're kind of...
Yeah, and like for me, it goes back to what you said, Donovan Mitchell, and I think Dave froze there. I'm going to see if it's on my end. It is on my end. You guys can still hear me though. Yeah, that was totally on my end, buddy. I saw
myself like freeze.
You hard cut hardcore. So continue what you were saying, because like I was looking down and then I heard you stop and I was like, oh, he abruptly stopped. I don't know where his end point was, but you can go ahead and finish, because my Discord was like, no, Dave, no talking for you.
Yeah, no, I was basically just, hey, you're a very good team. You're a very young team. You got great pieces. Don't force anything to happen. If you keep this core together and Donovan Mitchell plays like a monster next year, then you're in a position where you can get into the second round and maybe even a Western Conference final. But you need more. That's at the end of the day, you need more talent. That's the takeaway. Whether you find it in the draft, whether you find it in a sneaky trade. I had seen the Chris Paul rumors. I had seen other stuff linked to them. I don't know what to tell you right now is the way to go, but just pick your timeline. That's number one thing, is they need to pick their timeline as a front office.
Yeah. Like you said earlier, what I was going to go into was it all depends on Donovan Mitchell. He's getting the max extension. He's basically doing the John Wall, I want to say, because didn't John Wall sign his extension before his final year? Like going into his final year, he signed his extension and then he got hurt. Right? Or am I thinking of maybe Brad, because Bradley Beal didn't. We're still talking about trade things with him. I thought it was John Wall signed his contract the year before. You're kind of saying that, like, I want to be here rather than we'll wait and see how next year goes. Because, like, I'll be honest, Donovan Mitchell, if he lights it up like he did this series all next year, could probably get a huge contract anywhere.
I mean, he's got a max deal. It's just a question of what the max deal will be when he's available, if he qualifies for A super max, I don't believe so.
Yeah.
I don't know, actually. I got to look at the qualifiers for super max.
The thing that I saw from the Bleacher Report was just max contract.
170 mil or something like that.
Yeah. But Dave, moving in away from the Utah Jazz, another team, we're going to move into one that's not in the playoffs anymore, and that is the Dallas Mavericks, because there is a article that I saw yesterday, both of them from SI. One from yesterday that said that Buddy Hield could be somebody that the Mavs could target. The name of the headline was "Why a Buddy Hield NBA Draft Trade Makes Sense." Then there was one today. I didn't want to get in on the Giannis, where could he go kind of thing, but it says Giannis to Mavs has a chance, predicts NBA analyst, also from SI. And the thing I kind of wanted to talk about, Dave, is Dallas is a team. They, without KP, took the Clippers in a farther series than any of us thought of. Yes, Pat Bev was injured for it, but they put on a show. They basically showed the world, we are here. Luka and KP are going to be something special in the future if they keep progressing like this. And kind of the thing I want to talk about is, do they need to add a third star, and do they need to add that star right now?
Again, their timeline. Luka's a second-year player. I know KP,
but he's playing like he's not a second-year player, Dave. That's the thing.
He's playing like an MVP would in the NBA. He had a second year that's on par with LeBron James or anybody else out there in the world. To be honest with you, so I get it. There's a reason to be happy. There's a reason to feel whatever. But look, if you can get Giannis, go for it. There's no downside in getting Giannis.
Realistically, could they get Giannis, though?
Would win a championship, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case scenario, you're the second best team in the NBA, depending on what happens this offseason. But I don't believe that's going to happen right now. So when it comes to more realistic moves, yeah, sure, they can continue to add talent to this team because again, Luka's not on a max deal. KP is on a high deal, but not. I don't believe it's a max.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's only getting 27 mil or something like that. But I just think that this team has options with money right now, which is why they're entertaining those questions. They know they're going to have to pay a max contract to Luka. They know that he's going to be the highest paid player. And before all your money gets taken away, you need to do something to add that extra stability to that roster, because they had low key one of the best supporting groups for them. I don't like Hardaway Jr. I really don't. He's a chucker in my mind, always has been, always will be. But he does well for them. He's a decent wing out there, and I think he's maybe slightly above average wing for the NBA level. So good, but I love me some Seth Curry, best Curry. Again, I love it's those kind of pieces. You get sharpshooters on the outside, which is why the Buddy Hield thing is that makes perfect sense to me. Is why you would go after a Buddy Hield, because you have Luka Doncic. If you can get somebody who can knock down threes at an insane clip on an insane vibe.
I think that's me. Well, is it him now? Was it me again? Because it didn't go red this time.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue. What's your point?
So either Buddy Hield or even a Bogdanovich, if the Kangs are going to Kangs it up again, both are attractive options because Luka gives you that versatility. If you need to go get a point guard, you can get a point guard. If you need to go get two, you can go get two. If you need to go get three, you can get three. He covers all three positions simultaneously. They need a secondary shot creator out there. Jalen Brunson looked good, but not great. JJ Barea aging. So they obviously need to add someone who can dribble a basketball and help run an offense. I mean, Giannis, amazing, but unlikely. Buddy Hield, pretty likely as far as someone who could be picked up by another team because of all the troubles with that team and going on that front office. But again, do you feel like they need to move up a draft pick? And I'm they don't have many draft picks today,
yeah.
So.
See, I don't think they don't need to get somebody in the draft. They need to get somebody who, do they need a guy who is going to be like a big three? No. Like, I don't think they need to reform like what LeBron had in Miami or like what Golden State had. They just need what you said. Someone who can knock down open threes because Luka creates them. And they need somebody who at times can have that kind of polish to create for himself. And that's why to me it's like everyone knows who watches MVP. I love Buddy Hield. Wooden Award winner. Put some respect on that name. And for me, it's like I almost relish in this kind of opportunity for this trade because it's like, oh my God, please get Buddy Hield on a good team. Please get Buddy Hield on a team that's actually going to win games and show off how good he can really be on a team. Because I don't think Buddy Hield would clash with Luka. I think that he'd be able to, because like you said, Tim Hardaway Jr. is a chucker. So do you want someone who's just basically going to stand out there and be able to hit threes? Are you happy with that alone? Or do you want somebody who can do a little bit of both, create for their own at sometimes, but also hit down those open shots? Because that's the part that's more important. Luka's going to create open threes. Someone's got to hit him. Someone's got to knock him down.
Tim Hardaway Jr. coming off his best, it is his career year playing with Dallas this year. Shooting splits 43, 39, 81, 7.2 attempts a game from three. So like high volume, great looks, and a massive percentage jump. Last year he was 32%, the year before 34, 34, 31. So like he's been a middling shooter, and this is his best year as far as the shooting percentage goes. So again, that's the kind of influence that the Luka, gravity brings to an offense. And I think that will continue. So he's good. Could you get better out there? And I wonder, also because they don't have many picks, because they've moved on picks to get KP, is this their last best pick? Is this a situation where they should be taking this pick to swing for the fences for somebody because they're not going to get another look at somebody who is as talented, perhaps, this high in the draft without, looking forward, it's like you wouldn't expect a team with KP and Luka to be drafting under 20 again anytime soon, right? So
yeah, and right now, just to put in some context, Tankathon has them going with like a Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, high upside, great defender, could be a good offensive player. Still looks like there's some things to shake out of that system, perhaps that had held him back. Perhaps he needs to work on his shot still, definitely, not questioning that. But like, he would be the perfect defender in theory. I understand why they've got him going there because he's scrappy, he's strong, and he can go after guys on the defensive end. And given opportunities, he can knock down some shots. But I just think that like them moving on from a pick this year for Buddy Hield might be a mistake.
Yeah,
that sounds ignorant, I know, but like maybe I'm valuing him too high. Maybe I'm valuing the potential of a draft pick, but it's also that contract control. Again, we talked about in the last segment, 4-year rookie deal, 3-year extension on top of that for an RFA. Like, you have 7 years of contract control, and you're about to dole out a massive contract in another year or 2 years. So, now is the time to go long-term on some things. I think the draft is a great option here because you're not going to have a draft pick, I think, next year and then 2 years from then.
Because I'll be with the Knicks.
Yep. So we'll see, but I'm just putting my money on like, hey, let's add some solid pieces, but let's not swing for the fences this offseason. But if Buddy Hield's there for the right price, do it. Do it.
Plus making the financials work because the thing with a Buddy Hield trade is he's a poison pill. So it means like, for example, on Trade Machine, because I was just kind of playing around with it, when you put Buddy Hield down, outgoing, he only costs the Kings 4.8 when it comes to like their outgoing contracts. But like when he comes in, he's 28 for the Mavericks because he's already signed.
That's not a poison pill. That's just he already signed the extension.
Yeah, he's listed. I'm telling you, he's listed on Trade Machine as a poison pill contract. Same as like Ben Simmons is listed as a poison pill, where it says Buddy Hield is on a rookie contract and signed an extension. that is to begin the following season. Therefore, he has what is known as the poison pill contract. He can no longer be traded for a player making equal money. Instead, his current salary is averaged along with the salaries he is to receive in his extension, and the average becomes his incoming salary for the trade purposes. His outgoing would be 4.8. His incoming would be 28.3.
I always thought poison pill back to the days of like the Brooklyn Nets and what they did to like Tyler Johnson. 2 years of cheap, 2 years of stupidly expensive. Same thing that happened to Chandler Parsons, I believe, and someone else. And it was like, also trade kickers. Obviously stacked trade kickers of like, hey, if you trade me, your salary automatically goes up, or I get a bonus or whatever it is. Like that's when they say poison pill because of like he already signed an extension. Yeah, but you know that's not like I don't know. Differing opinions, I guess.
Yeah, it's just how they had it listed. But for this, it's also a time of, and this is the last question I'll ask, because for me, I would almost make a Buddy Hield. If a trade was put out there for Buddy Hield, I would almost do it, because for Dallas, how important is it for them to win now? To win now, or is it Luka's good, but the window's just not right yet? Right now is not the right time to push because of Kawhi and the Clippers, because of LeBron and the Lakers. Or is it like no, we can compete with them, push?
I mean, they just showed that they can compete with them. Had KP and Luka been healthy in that series, I think we're looking at the Dallas Mavericks going on. I'll be honest with you. I think that they had the Clippers number. I understand that if you then add in Pat Beverly, it turns into a whole different conversation.
Dave also doesn't like Marooks Morris right now.
Had Marooks Morris not been a massive scumbag and only got fined $35,000 for slapping Luka in the head, like that's some weak shit right there. But look, I get it. Both sides had shit going on, and again, it's going to happen any given year. You can't guarantee your players will be healthy. Yeah. But the Mavericks do need to add some pieces. I don't think they need to push now. If you look at most guys who win championships, it's never in their first 4 years. Like the star of your team is never a first 4 year kind of a player, right? Yeah. You're frozen again, aren't
you? No, I'm here.
Mother.
No, I can hear you. I could see you moving the whole time. I could see you moving the whole time and hear everything you were saying. So that got caught. You were like, you're frozen, motherfucker. And I'm sitting here going, no, I can hear you. I see you. I see you moving. But yeah, like how many, I can't even think of the last team that was like, wow, my guy was a second-year pro and we already went to the like conference finals.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So like, it's a trajectory that we haven't seen before. You know, literally like LeBron, how many years did it take him to win a championship? Michael Jordan, how many years did it take him to win a championship?
About 8.
Outside of Magic Johnson, who landed on the most stacked team as a rookie. And that's a whole thing. If you look at a Magic Johnson draft, like how that all happened, it's shenanigans. Yeah. Shenanigans everywhere. Outside of that, and that was like in an NBA that's like 4 decades ago, 5 decades ago, shit. It's wild. So I don't think there's any need to put the foot on the floor as far as like, let's go ahead and mortgage the future. Like they've got some nice young pieces. They need to continue developing. They're going to be competing for the next decade plus, it looks like, with Luka and KP. Let's just worry about the next 4 years and figure it out from there, you know?
Yeah. And let's move on. Before we get into the NFL stuff we're going to talk about, it's time to do Wet Boys, Dave. If you're new to Wet Boys, these are kind of our players that popped off the day before, our soggiest of shooters, our moistest of men, our dampest of dudes. I fucked that up because sometimes they're mistiest of misses. You got to keep the M's together. But Dave, these are our Wet Boys, and today is unique because, yeah, I fucked up. I went to bed or fell asleep before I put the patron post to go up. So for today, because it's been a kind of hectic day on both Dave and mine's end, the patron Wet Boy is just, hey, he did really good, and this is who we think you would kind of pick. It won't happen again, I promise. But how it goes is Dave gives a Wet Boy, I give a Wet Boy, and then the patrons at patreon.com/MVP vids also give a Wet Boy of their own. Dave, I will let you take it. Who's your Wet Boy for September 2nd, 2020?
You know, I have to lean into it after my anger over Marux Morris. I'm just going scumbags now. I'm going with Marcus Smart. This man had a second half of a game that just, I don't know what woke him up, but he was a different kind of monster in the second half of that game. Like, he started off slower on the offensive end, but he could not miss in the second half of that game. He's the difference maker for that Boston team. He's the reason down the line they were able to hold off the Raptors. Credit to him on the offensive end. That's the things you don't expect. Defensively, Marcus Smart is exactly who you want him to be, and he always is. I mean, yeah, he's going to flop around like an asshole sometimes, but he tries to get the calls for you. So credit to him, shout out to him.
Yeah, I mean, and plus the Celtics, I know we didn't talk about them, but like I mentioned the day before the show, with me, not much to say about that series. They're up 2-0, and they're looking good right now. For me, Dave, I'm going a little bit away from basketball, as I usually do. I usually try to give some love to the MLB guys.
You care about those other sports or something.
I do. There's other sports besides basketball. I know what. But
I don't believe in that.
Basically, I had to give my wet boy to, I'm giving him a nickname, Dave, and it's going to sound horrible, so be prepared for it.
All your nicknames are horrible.
Alex Big Dick Dickerson. Nope. This guy basically fucking just hitting dangers yesterday. Went 5 for 6 in the game, 6 RBIs, 3 home runs in a game against the Rockies. And Dave, I don't know if you saw Discord when you woke up today. Did you see how many runs the Giants put on the Rockies yesterday?
A lot.
I saw it and I was like, 23 has to be a mistake. It has to be a mistake, but no, there was not one pitcher for the Rockies that did not give up a run. One guy gave up 7 runs in 0.2 of an inning. He didn't even make it a full inning before giving up 7 runs. So, no, got to give the shout out to Alex Dickerson of the Giants, putting it on and hitting dingers like Big Al. We hitting dingers, Dave, hitting dingers. And for the patron wet boy, I'll announce it, Dave. I'll let you take this one away because this is in the wheelhouse of basketball. Did you freeze? Okay. You were standing there so, like, still that I was like, did he freeze again? And then I just saw your shoulders kind of move. But the patron wet boy for today, Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, he got the job done at the end of the game. That's all that matters is the big Joker took care of business. Nuggets came back from 3-1 in the series. It wasn't the prettiest game. It definitely wasn't the smoothest of endings, but he did everything you need him to. I love the selfish Jokic game. You know, you always see like the 10 to 12 to 14 assist games from him, but when he wants to, he is a scoring machine. And I love seeing it out of him. I love when he just decides he needs to dominate because, let's be honest, this series will be known as a series that Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray dueled it out. Guard on guard, mano a mano, 3-point shooters on fire. And I think Jokic, kind of slid behind the lines, and I want to give him a shot for Game 7.
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention, this was me doing the wet boy graphic. First off, Sean will be happy because Nikola Jokic is getting the nod for a wet boy. But also, if you look at Nikola's shoulders, this is the first wet... No. This is the first wet boy that he is so big that because usually I try to make it to where his head is almost to the top. Yep. He's the first one that there's no space between the side and the black bar. Like, it is just clear, like, Nikola Jokic is a brick shit house. And, Dave, let's go ahead and end the show on YouTube. This is a choppy POS today because OBS is a POS. That's just how it is some days.
Equal blame.
I'm putting more blame on OBS than Discord. Discord I don't expect a lot out of. Maybe that's why. I just don't expect a lot out of Discord. OBS, I expect a lot out of you because you're the one that I am streaming from. You're the one that shouldn't need to reconnect every 5 minutes. But, Dave, a little bit of NFL quarterback news today. Number 1, we were having dropped on us that Coach Anthony Lynn of the LA Chargers has made an announcement, Dave. We now know who the starting quarterback will be, and here's what the article says on ESPN. In case there was any hint of doubt about quarterback position, the LA Chargers, head coach Anthony Lynn eliminated it Wednesday morning. Tyrod Taylor is our starter right now, Lynn said. Until someone steps up and shows they can run this team, that's how we're going into it.
What a call to action. What a message sent.
Yeah,
It's
so
almost as if they have a top draft prospect at quarterback who needs to get better at playing football to take that position from Tyrod Taylor, who basically wins by default right now, is what I'm hearing. That doesn't sound like a happy head coach. That sounds like a head coach being like, you need to get better so I can give you your job because we're betting on you.
So that's how you're looking at that. This is
absolutely.
Tyrod didn't win the job. Herbert lost the job.
Correct. I love Tyrod Taylor too. I fantasy a couple of years ago. I think he had a great run with the Bills. I liked what he did coming in and trying to save the Browns for a bit. Like, he's an adequate quarterback. He is not someone who's a game changer. He cannot win you playoff game on his own. He's not that guy, but he's a game manager. He can get some shit done. He's still got some versatility. He's got some moves out there in the open field if he needs to break it out. So yeah, I mean, like, it makes sense for Tyrod to get the start for the first 5 games because he does give you the best chance to win. Herbert's just not prepared. Tyrod's been in the league. He knows offenses. He knows defenses. He's a good player. And from everything that you've heard from him in interviews and from, other guys talking about him on the team, he's a great guy to have around on your team regardless of the situation. So I think it was a smart move by them to get Tyrod. But going forward, it's clear that like this is just waiting for Herbert to take over. And when that happens, it's fine. But if your goal is still to compete on some level, and I think the Chargers definitely have that in mind, then you got to go with protecting your future by trying to win now with Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, and I mean, like, for me, I'm even looking at the schedule after those 5 games. Like, the rest of the schedule is super easy. Jets, Dolphins, Jaguars, Raiders twice, Broncos twice. Like, your toughest opponents are, you got Buffalo and the Falcons in there, and then you end the year with the Chiefs, but it's like...
Broncos are going to be tough.
I mean, the Broncos tougher than... It's not as tough as Saints. I'm just saying, it's not as tough as the Saints.
I agree. What's their bye week?
Their bye week is week 10.
Oh, okay.
So what I'm thinking...
bye week you're seeing maybe?
I'm thinking he starts either week 6, week 7. That's what I'm thinking. After the tough schedule is over because of basically what Anthony Lynn said of
if they go someone needs to step the first 5 weeks, are you okay with that? Like, I think that'd be great if you look at that. Yeah, I mean,
they go 2-3. Basically, that would be beating the Bengals and the Panthers. That would be expected in my mind. Expected for the Chargers to be at least 2-3. If you lose to Joe Burrow out the start and you name Tyrod your starter, that's not looking so good.
If they upset like the Bucks though, or the Saints or something like that, like, you can't pull Tyrod now.
You can't. It depends on how those games go, but I do feel like they're protecting Herbert a little bit.
At the latest, by week 10 probably.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The other quarterback news, Dave, is something near and dear to our heart, as we like to say. And that is the Bears. This came out a few days ago, but I've been keeping it on the back burner because we've had other stuff that we need to talk about. Dave, head coach Matt Nagy backtracked on Monday and clarified that he intends to reveal the identity of Chicago's starting quarterback sometime earlier next week. Nagy insinuated over the weekend that he would refrain from naming a starter, choosing between Trubisky and Foles, until the Bears open the regular season at Detroit on September 13th. I guess I misinterpreted what I meant by that. Nagy said during a video call, what I meant by that, to keep it real simple, was that there was not going to be a quarterback named this week that we're in right now, up until that first week. So I apologize if I made that gray, but there will be no waiting until the middle of the week or by the end of the week for that to happen. That wouldn't be fair to our team. That wouldn't be fair to our quarterbacks. Dave, what do you think of this? Do you think he really meant to, like, hey, I didn't do that? Or do you think it was like okay, no, I'm going to name the starter sooner rather than later?
There was some backlash.
And who
got that front office?
From the front office, you think?
I think the media got to the front office.
Okay.
The backlash of, like, all the rumor mill stuff going back and forth. Like, that's just not helpful to a football team, especially one that has expectations of being a playoff team this year. So
yeah,
I think that much unknown, like you have as a coach, instilling a starting quarterback on your team gives your guys confidence that you know what you're doing, that our offense is going to be successful. If you can't do that, like, what hope do you have? So yeah, I do think it's Foles. I think that Foles should get the starting job. I think he's a better quarterback. I think
all of Chicago thinks that, Dave. Mitch Trubisky shouldn't be anywhere near. I feel like the Stephen A. of like, Mitch Trubisky shouldn't even have hands. He shouldn't even be near the ball. He shouldn't even have hands in the fourth quarter. Like, that's just what I feel like with Mitch Trubisky, where he should not be the starter, Dave. Like, and I can't wait for... Oh, I don't even know if this would happen, but I'm going to say if Mitch Trubisky's named the starter on Monday, is Chicago in burn it down mode? Or they're going to be basically he's frozen again. No, he's not frozen. He is frozen. He's not frozen. This has been a fucking clusterfuck. This has been a complete clusterfuck. We are still live, Dave. I was basically saying,
I said we quit.
Is there a chance that Trubisky, when he's named the starter, if he's named the starter on Monday, Chicago burns it down? That was my question. Seth Rollins, burn it down.
Yeah, why not? Like that.
Sure, whatever.
Everyone's going to be pissed off, and we're going to have to deal with it. And either one of two things will happen. Trubisky will prove us all wrong, we'll win games, and Chicago will be happy. Or he'll prove us right, he'll suck, and then we'll get Nick Foles, and we'll be happy. So, like, as a Bears fan, I'm coming out of this a winner. As long as we make the decision quick enough that we don't sacrifice our playoff hopes because it takes our front office dragging their feet because they need to make 100% positive that they could never make a mistake with drafting a quarterback.
No. Like, only looking at one. That's what you do, right? You find the one you like, and boom, that's the one you look at.
Just one. You just pick out one.
Yeah, just one.
You don't need to look at the rest of it.
You know what? I love LaMelo Ball, Dave. I don't have to look at any of the other point guards. LaMelo Ball.
There's no due diligence required.
But that is going to do it for MVP Sports Live. I want to thank everyone on Twitch for basically being a part of this, for struggling through. You guys can probably tell by looking at my face. Yep, that's going to do it. Patreon.com/MVPvids. Thanks to our producers, Philly Sean and Pat Hill. Make sure to join the Discord. You guys know where it is at this point. I'm beyond it right now with everything. Thank you guys for all your support. Let us know what you guys think. And as always, have a good day, everybody.